Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of CCC Talks with Mark O'Loughlin and the Cloud Credential Council. Now, today we're joined by Ken Wilson. Ken is Director of Platform Lifecycle Management and Head of PMS Operations at Amadeus IT Group. Ken, thank you very much for joining us on today's podcast.
Great. Hey, thanks for having me, Mark. I really appreciate the opportunity to be with all of you. My name is Ken Wilson. I've been in IT for over 20 years and really have cut my teeth in the client server world. So I've been around quite a long time, since really the late 90s. And I've been working in hospitality technology for really over 15 years with a particular focus on systems. Over the last several years, I've really been helping Amadeus Hospitality sunset a lot of the legacy products and really move those customers off of about 39 of them to our newer cloud-based products. And really, Mark, I can assure you that is quite an undertaking. There's a lot going on there. And in tandem with that, I've also been running our property management systems operations team.
Yep. Fantastic. So great wealth of experience there. You've seen it from the traditional side of IT now into digital and cloud and everything in between. And as you said, moving a lot of systems from the older, what we now call legacy, into this new cloud world as well. Now, looking at the Amadeus IT Group, in its own words, helping to connect over 1.5 billion people a year to local travel providers in over 190 countries. Now, that's a lot of people, it's a lot of countries, and it's a lot of travel trips. I was interested in the industry that you're in is how important now is cloud and digital technologies in sustaining this type and level of business today and into the future?
Well, Mark, I work with our hospitality business unit, which really focuses on hospitality technology with some of the largest hotel companies in the world.
Right.
We're offering technology services to assist hoteliers in all areas of hotel operations, such as sales and catering, service optimization, property management systems, and central reservation systems, right? And there's many others as well. I come from one of Amadeus's acquisitions that really focused on the sales and catering aspect of hospitality technology, but obviously my world has grown substantially as other acquisitions have been folded in, and we've been made an official business unit within Amadeus.
Yes.
Nonetheless, we've started by providing software in the on-premise world, right? As so many other companies have done, and then as the technology has changed, we've had to change.
Yes.
But clearly, we've realized that the cloud and digital transformation has really become an enabler for us to provide a radically new set of solutions to our customers, from data-driven BI and guest management solutions to real-time rate management. And the cloud and digital transformation has really opened a lot of new doors for us. Also, go ahead, Mark.
I was going to say that. Are you doing things today that you couldn't have done 10, 15 years ago? And are you doing different business operations differently today because of cloud and digital? Is that what's been happening?
Absolutely. I mean, I would say 10 to 15 years ago, what we were doing was really selling our products primarily on-prem. On-premise, we were selling, hosted products, so taking our legacy products and providing those in a hosted environment. We had a heavy focus on systems, a heavy focus on, fundamental technologies such as compute, networking, and storage. Today, it's radically changed, right? I mean, if we look at what we're doing today, we're leveraging the cloud, we're leveraging Microsoft Azure, the Google Cloud, we're leveraging our own private cloud. We're doing a lot with Kubernetes. There's just a tremendous amount of opportunity that we've been able to unlock simply by moving to cloud and to leveraging digital transformation.
Yeah, to use some of the common buzzwords that we hear today, what you've described there could be called hybrid cloud strategy and a multi-cloud strategy as well. Multi-cloud, multiple cloud providers. The hybrid aspect, at least from our perspective, is using both public and private cloud as well. So it's a complete mix. did you find there was a steep learning curve in getting to where you are today in this hybrid cloud, multi-cloud environment that you now have?
Well, yes, absolutely. I mean, I think as we have, transitioned, right? So,
Mm,
Amadeus has traditionally had the largest data center in Europe, based in Germany. Um, you know, a tremendous amount of data center experience.
yeah. Yeah.
It's been a challenge to really kind of think differently, right?
Yes.
To take and look at, okay, well, how can we leverage these public cloud providers? Where do they make sense? Now, they don't make sense in every scenario, right? As we built out a new central reservation system for the largest hotel chain in the world,
Yeah.
um, we realized that the public cloud wasn't going to provide the performance and
Yeah.
resiliency that we needed for that particular application. So we built our own private cloud, and frankly, that was a tremendous undertaking.
Yeah.
That really it cost us more than we expected.
Yeah.
There was a lot involved in figuring out how to actually implement effectively, and then
Yep.
just moving on to a new operational model. Leveraging DevOps, leveraging our teams differently, training our teams with new skills and new ways of thinking. I mean, there wasn't, it was a pretty big undertaking to make that transition. Now, I would say that, those that are entertaining the cloud, and many people are looking at that. I mean, it's kind of a foregone conclusion that cloud is
Yes.
here and here to stay, right?
Yes.
It's not simply that you can just, switch off your data center and move into the cloud. There's a lot to think about. There's a lot to go through. There's a lot of training that needs to happen. And if you think through it and carefully evaluate what you're trying to do and what workloads make sense and in what
Yes.
environment, I think you can be tremendously successful.
That's an amazing story. It's one that slightly counteracts the move to the cloud because of, as you said, you analyze the public cloud and said that's not the solution. I think that's the success of the early part of that strategy in saying it's the right thing to do is build a data center, almost swimming against the current wave of thinking. But you end up with the right solution for the right purpose for, to get the right result at the end of the day. Even from an investor perspective, there could have been pressure. I'm not saying there was for your organization, but we've seen pressures put on organizations to move to the cloud just because it's considered cheaper. In your case, I don't think the lower cost would have been it's what's the right thing to do for this industry, what's the right thing to do for that hotel chain. As you said, we have to go on this journey, and it's probably, I'm sure it's paid off in doing that. And I think that sounds like it's got you in this hybrid multi-cloud scenario, which I think is where organizations should be going. We should be evaluating these clouds on a case by case basis, not just a let's go to cloud basis. I think this, from what I'm hearing, this is a good case study for choosing the right type of cloud, be it public or private, and the right approach to solving a business problem or a business challenge or an opportunity rather than just let's go to cloud, which we see all the time. Um, so that was good. You mentioned as well on the way there was a lot of learning and change and culture, and then like DevOps is, let's say, newish compared to an organization like yourselves that have been around for a while. Was training just enough, or was it training gave your people and staff enough to start wanting to work in this new environment? I always think that people make the change at the end of the day. Training might help facilitate us understanding what it is we need to change into. Would that have applied here?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think training is one aspect of it, right? I
Mm.
mean, there are, everyone starts off with a particular mindset, right?
Of course,
And
yeah.
some people are really, they've really enjoyed what they've been doing. They've been very successful with it, and there has to be some education and evangelism with respect to the benefits of what the cloud
Yes,
can bring them, their careers, and the company as a whole. So that's a big part of it, right? Is helping to change that mindset, and then as they change their mindset, really enforcing that with training, ensuring that they have the skills, that they sense that they are relevant, right? I
Yes.
mean, everybody wants to feel relevant. And so, as we can really not only encourage our teams to make that transition and make that mind shift change, also back that up with robust skills that enable them to be successful.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a very good point. Today, we've been relevant in our industry. People still want to remain relevant, and I think the only way to do that with all this technological change going on is to upskill somehow. So there's training,
Right.
education, certification, whatever that is. Take a mixed blend to that. Probably not everybody needs to be trained in everything. I'm sure you train some people in cloud, some people in DevOps, some people in Agile, some people in various other things. And by bringing everybody together, kind of lets that information, that training kind of cross-pollinate within the organization. I think that's an approach. Is that an approach that you perhaps took there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah,
right. So,
yeah.
you know, um, we certainly had to ensure that, individuals were trained technically on how to actually work within the cloud, how to administer the cloud,
Mm,
how
mm,
to, we use a combination of IaaS and PaaS. How, different individuals need to need to learn how to operate different components of the cloud.
of
But
course,
beyond
yes.
that, just how to work.
Mm,
DevOps has become a huge component of what we've done and how we've transformed. Um, Really incredibly important to what we do.
yeah,
Beyond that, safe, scaled agile has become a big
yes.
part of all of our development shops. We operate very strictly according to to that methodology, and we also are expanding that into other areas of our business, right? So using that across the board wherever we can. And then, ITIL is important as well, and then making sure that, we have a service delivery model that is scalable and is repeatable and is robust, right? So all of those different components are really critical
Mm.
to overall success. I mean, and everybody has a role to play, and it's upskilling everyone, not just the technical folks who have been traditionally very successful on the system side.
Yeah, because even in my experience with some of the technical folks, going into a cloud is a completely different environment. You're not in a data center. You're configuring hardware. Well, you're configuring, infrastructure via software these days as opposed to physical. Very interesting there, as you said about the service management, the operations side, the ITIL world, where in some organizations that's seen as a bit of a barrier now, a little bit bureaucratic. I don't necessarily think that way. I think it has a role to play in operations, but a role to play alongside the DevOps, alongside the scaled environments, um, and as a component of the model, no longer being like this is the model. I think that that's important, and it sounds like what you have there. Wanted to ask you, so you doing a lot of things, doing a lot with cloud. It's a question around about some of the other digital technologies you've got. IoT, Internet of Things, AI now seems to be the next big thing to take on, big data. Are you doing anything with those types of digital technologies, or are you thinking what they might do for the business?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're one of the largest software companies in the world, right? I mean, we're in the top 10,
Mm,
and we're looking at every single one of them, right? I mean,
fantastic.
it's critically important that we provide a very innovative solution to our customers. And,
Yes.
and just to be frank, it's important not only in the products that we provide. So, we're helping our customers, for instance, understand the rates in their market and make
Hmm.
better decisions to maximize their revenue. All right, we use BI for that. But there's also, a tremendous opportunity for us to take the data and the learnings that we have with respect to our customer set. We have thousands upon thousands of hotels in the U.S. and really globally. Take that data and be able to leverage it to inject new features into our products, right? And so
Yes. Yeah.
we're using big data to help us understand our customer set, understand what we need to offer for new features. And then beyond that, it's not just the products that we need to be able to provide to our customers, right? It goes well beyond the products. We also have to be offering superior customer service. I would say that the operations teams are
Yeah.
just as important in terms of delivering the product and ensuring success in a cloud-based world as the product teams themselves. So
Yes.
we're looking at opportunities with AI to help us be more effective. And we're already using AI in some areas of the business, but we're going to be using a lot more of it in the days, weeks, and months and years to come in
Yeah.
terms of really helping our customers make the most and use our products effectively, but also helping them to know that they're important to us as a business, right? And
Love that. I
so,
love that. Yes. So as
so
you
it's
said,
critically important across the board.
yeah, helping them know that they're important. Yeah, I think that's really good. You mentioned something there about customer service. I'm a big believer in, now this is I almost call this secret sauce, but it's not secret. But um, that where we are now with the technology does a great job. That the companies that are likely to survive and thrive over the next 5, 10, 15 years, I believe, it's personal belief, are the ones that are going to use the technologies to do the things you've mentioned, but also the other thing that you hit on, which is driving superior customer service.
Mhm.
I firmly believe that using these technologies to reduce the cost of customer service is probably the wrong way to go. Now, certainly use things like AI and big data to help us understand and to automate some of the thing that we do in customer service to, but we need to elevate that level of customer service up. I think going forward, and I think that to me, I call it secret sauce, but I always tell people, but I've told you what the secret is, you know. I think it sounds like in your industry there as well, that's going to be important. I would imagine that there's a lot of competition in your area now. There's a lot of disruptors coming in, or there's lots of people trying to do smaller pieces of the business that you do. So maybe that's we'll look at that in a moment. But maybe customer service absolutely is something that can be lifted up, because we can do a lot of intelligent stuff with some of these digital technologies. But I always think that if you look after your customers, look after the people, they will return. And I think what you said as well was interesting, using some of these technologies to help understand your customer better, but to help them understand maybe what they can get out of this a bit more. Because a lot of things with big data is it's only when you go try analyze all this information that, or all this data into some kind of understandable information, that you might actually see things that we missed, opportunities that just weren't thought of before. I always think with Internet of Things, it's don't go out and do an Internet of Things project, and because you probably fail. You'll probably have to do a lot of soul searching before you understand how you can capitalize on IoT. And maybe in your industry, I don't know if there's areas you're looking at for IoT that you can talk about. If there is, that'd be great. Or if not, just in general terms, do you see IoT as offering some kind of competitive advantage? Sensors in some systems that your customers use to drive back information. Is that
Well,
something?
I certainly see IoT as something that's interesting for us, right? It's an important aspect of really any robust cloud strategy today,
Yeah, yeah,
especially if we're looking at delivering a wide range of solutions across the industry, right? So,
yeah.
IoT is critically important, and one of the areas that we see it as property management systems, right? Property management systems,
Absolutely.
are really defined heavily by their integrations with other products, right? And so we're rolling out a new solution on premise. We can't do everything in the cloud. I mean, we have to realize that there are some things that have to go on prem.
Yeah,
And so, rolling out a new solution there, and IoT can play a big part in the success of that particular product. We also, have a number of different other solutions in our service optimization space that really, in order to help hotels be successfully operationally, they need to have some on-prem components, right? So we're looking at IoT as a help there and a driver to ensure greater success in that market as well. So there's just a tremendous amount of opportunity there for IoT, I think, across the board. And I would be remiss to say, that we aren't looking at every particular opportunity that comes along to leverage, these various cloud technologies to ensure our, the best outcome for the entire business.
We'll keep an eye and see what kind of technologies or solutions you apply with IoT. Be very interested in that. We'll come back to that another day. Um, you heard it here first from Ken. Not everything needs to go into a cloud or should go into a cloud. Very glad we heard that today, because again, there's this big drive to putting everything in. At least I've seen a lot of reports over the last couple of years of organizations going all into cloud and extracting half of that back out, either cost or wrong architecture, or it just didn't make sense to do that in the first place. So it sounds like get your strategy correct from the start, and I think it's a right cloud strategy as opposed to a cloud first strategy, perhaps, is what we're hearing. So that's good. Now, Ken, you mentioned there earlier that you've got a lot of, I'm sure you have still a lot of legacy IT. Now, legacy doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. I mean, that's a terrible phrase that we use. But let's say slightly older technology from cloud and now cloud technology. So you have a mix. Um, and that's where most organizations find themselves today. As you said, not everything goes into the cloud. Not everything is architected in private clouds. There's a lot of still data center usage. How do you manage the old with the new from a few areas, say architecture, resiliency, scalability, agility, security, from some of those big areas? How do you manage the old IT with the new IT and all this digital stuff that's going on? Is that difficult?
Oh, I would say it's extremely difficult,
Mm,
because number one is, Amadeus is made up of a number of, not only did it grow up
yeah,
organically, but it's
yeah,
also made up of a lot of acquisitions.
of
And
course, yes,
so, each of us, and I come from one of them, each of us come to the table with a different set of technologies that we've been using.
yes.
And so, to try to bring those together and to operate them effectively is challenging. And then beyond that, to really integrate not only our IT systems but our products, because we're not only thinking about internal IT, we're thinking about empowering the IT
Mm,
organizations of our customers, right? So we're providing technology products that need to integrate as well. So it's just tremendously difficult to do that. But I think again, it comes down to having the right people, having the right mindset, and training the individuals so that they can operate in this hybrid, and I don't want to be careful because that's an overused term as well, but
okay.
operate in a hybrid type environment. And
Yes.
that's really, really key. The people are key to your success. And I want to just say, just kind of going back to what you were saying earlier, don't be so focused on the sexy, right? And I think cloud
Yeah.
is kind of reaching the point where it's reaching saturation, but
Yes, it
um,
is.
there definitely is this mindset of we've got to go for the sexy. We've got to go for, the buzz terms and chase after, what's next. But really, as a business, really think through what you need to transform. Think about where the cloud makes sense, where you need to make investments there, and make those investments, but think carefully about what should remain on-prem, what
Mm.
you don't need to invest in at the moment, and think carefully about how those two areas will intertwine and work
Mm.
together for the betterment of your business, right?
Yeah, love that, Ken. Ken, I mean, we need more of you saying this. I think we need to duplicate you somehow. I said key thing, people. We see so often, as you said, the sexy is the digital, is the cloud, is all the tech.
Yeah.
I generally kind of trivialize it a little bit to say that's the easier bit today. It tends to work now. It's difficult to make it work, multi-cloud, multi-hybrid, and legacy, but you can do it. the harder thing is bringing the people with you, but they're the people that make it work. They're the things that make it all hang together.
That's right.
That's the reason that it gets loosely coupled in the right way. As you said, the right cloud for the right reason. The people mindset, I think, is where we need to be thinking in this journey, and to get away from, even though it's technology, you even said it there, sure, your internal IT department has to think like a business because it has to integrate that technology with another business. So it's more business focused first, and technology is very important. But you can have the best tech, if it doesn't integrate, you've no business at the end of the day.
That's right.
I think you've got that mindset in there, that culture in there. It doesn't come overnight, doesn't come easy, but it sounds like it's working there. So some great tips there, Ken. As I said, we need to get you multiplied somehow and spreading this message. Now, a couple of questions about the industry itself. So, in general terms, are there challenges within this industry? First off the top of my head is, are the disruptors coming in? Because with a lot of this technology now, you'll see in banking, retail, probably in hospitality, that newer organizations, they don't have the legacy IT, they don't have they're not trying to do end to end. They're doing small bits of a business process. Are you finding that in your business that it is open to that, or is
Oh,
it
oh,
connected to that?
absolutely,
Or there
absolutely
isn't
right.
any business that's not
Yeah.
disrupted. Yeah.
So I think one of the great things of the cloud is it's really an enabler, not only for us to do our thing,
Yes.
but for individuals with very little upfront investment to
Yeah.
really take us for a ride, in a way.
It's a challenge. Take
Um,
on the challenge. Yeah. Yeah.
they take on the challenge, and some of them are doing exceptionally well. You look at some of the innovators in the space, and you think, wow, that is really impressive. So they're
Yeah.
able to do some things that, like you said, I mean, it's difficult for us to do because we do have so much legacy, and as I said, we've got a
Yeah.
number of different products that
That's
that we
reality.
we're still supporting, we're still operating, we're still caring for, and so it doesn't allow us to dedicate our full attention to the cloud and to our next generation products. So a big part of what we're trying to do now is sunset those products, move forward, and really focus our attention on innovation.
Yeah.
Now, that said, we're a large organization and we don't turn on a dime.
Yeah.
So, it's more difficult for us to put some of the innovation into specific products that maybe other companies, smaller, nimbler organizations can do.
True.
So we certainly do have that challenge, and we will continue likely to have that challenge to be as quick and nimble as they are. However, I think what our selling point, and what our selling point really needs to be, and really is that we are offering a broad suite of products, right? So whereas there are individual organizations that can provide a sales and catering solution, they can provide a property management uh,
Yeah.
solution, they can do these things individually, but they still need to integrate, right? And so what we're purporting is that we can really take on the scale that we can really take a lot of these individual components and knit them together into a holistic solution.
Yeah.
So the sum is greater than the parts,
Love
right?
it.
And so that's how we're looking at things, and the cloud really is enabling us to do that more quickly. Again, more quickly than we've historically done it. Probably not as quick as a lot of companies are doing it,
Yeah.
doing their development today, but
Yeah. Yeah.
enabling us to be more quick and more agile and more capable of delivering a holistic set of products and solutions that
Yeah.
benefit hoteliers.
Yeah, that's very true, as you said. And I thought it's a positive. Cloud enables us to be quicker than what we were in the past. Now, maybe not as quick as somebody else, but that's not you're not that's not the be all and the end all of it. Is that you have recognized it has given you that agility again. Another fantastic phrase that's probably overused out there. You said something there very relevant to industries that are undergoing disruption at the moment. And most industries are banking, finance, I said the hotelier industry as well. And I think one of the it's what you said. One of the key factors that can differentiate you, because you'll never be as quick and nimble as some of these new starts, is your focus on integration, integrating all these other challenger products and services that may come up back into the wider mesh of products and services that you provide. So you end up being, as well as providing services for the ones that you may not provide, or that your customer may say, well, look, this company's doing something a little bit different price point, we want to get that. You still get to touch that and be part of that by being the integrator. And I think that's where organizations that are of a big size, as you said, we've legacy, we've traditional, we've got cloud, we don't move as agile as some of these smaller startups and whatever it is. We can't compete with them. But the integration, I think the integrator now is the key, is taking all these small business things alongside a wider suite, integrating that seamlessly. And I think it gives control back to organizations like yourselves. Control not being a bad phrase, but from a customer point of view, they don't want to deal with 40 or 50 different little players. They still want to deal with the Amadeus of the world, when there's challenges and issues and changes to be done, and new things. So
Yeah.
I think that's a good space to be in. I think that's a
Yeah,
good.
I do. I agree, and I think that the thing that to keep in mind there is that there's integrations everywhere, right? I mean, we live in an integrated world, right? The beauty of being the provider of all the solutions is that you have control over how they integrate and how robustly they integrate.
Yes.
One of the challenges that we have in the property management space is that these property management systems need to integrate with a lot of third-party applications.
Mhm.
It is
Of
incredibly
course.
difficult to not only get them integrated and certify the integrations, but also to keep them running. And so I think that leads into the second point here is, I think customers appreciate having one throat to choke. And I hate to sound so crass there, but it's the
Yeah, yeah,
beauty of being able to work with one organization is that you can say, okay, you're providing my property management system, you're providing my sales and catering system, you make them work, right?
yeah.
And so I think that puts us, obviously sometimes in a difficult situation, but I think it's a beauty for our customers. It's a great selling point.
I think it is, and I'm sure you'll agree. Sometimes if it's difficult, think, well, that's good because that's business at the end of the day, and you're working with the customer. The other thing it allows, I think, organizations of your size to do is to, again, you can only do so much innovation and deal with all these customers, is to let the market, let other organizations do those smaller business processes, and either integrate them in as an add-on, or possibly acquire them as a quicker way of doing innovation at the end of the day. So some various strategies there, which I'm sure you probably look at. Listen, I have a couple of quick fire questions for you. So we'll just throw some of these out and see where we go with these. So question one, is cloud seen as a way to save money or drive innovation, or both in your view?
Oh, absolutely both.
Mm,
Absolutely both. I mean, number one is if you think you're going to save money out of the gate, I think you're not seeing things completely clearly,
fantastic.
because it does take investment, right? You're going to change
Yeah.
strategies, you're going to change the way you're doing things. It takes time, it takes money, it takes the things that we've talked about, right? So number one, it's not going to save you money out of the gate. And number two is I think you've got to really recognize that the cloud takes regular oversight and tuning in order to maximize the efficiency that you get out of it, right? It's kind of like, in the old, in the legacy days, we could leave, our systems running,
Yeah.
and it wasn't a big deal. It was, paying the electric bill.
Yes.
Now we're paying a lot more if we decide to leave all the lights on, right? So
Oh, I love
so
it.
we
Yeah.
really need to have individuals constantly watching and reviewing and um, just ensuring that the right aspects of the cloud are being utilized at the right times, and so that's really critically important. But also, as I said, innovation is a critical aspect as well. I mean, you know, now as an organization, we're able to spend a lot less time thinking about compute, networking, and storage, and we can spend a
Yes.
whole lot more time thinking about what features we need to bring to market and how we can really help our customers succeed. So, it's really a, it's a win-win, but it does take work.
It does take work indeed, and a good point there about the financial aspect of it as well. I'm a firm believer. We teach this: if you're going into cloud, it is going to cost you something up front. It's new, it's a project, it's got to be learned, and if you don't switch things off in this environment, the meter runs quite aggressively, let's say. So good, but huge innovation there. Question: is digital transformation a journey or a destination? What's your view?
Oh, definitely both. Definitely both. But I would say more on, I would focus more on the journey side, right?
Yes, yes,
Um,
yes.
the reality of the situation is that technology is constantly changing. So what we might realize success with today is really going to be vastly different, a few years from now. So we need to
Yes,
constantly be evaluating, constantly be looking at changing the way that we do things, constantly evaluating new technologies to see where it makes sense to make changes, right? So I really firmly believe that we're on this journey. It's probably a journey that will likely never end, and hopefully won't end.
oh,
um,
stop. I want to
but
get off. I want to
you're
get
right,
off.
right, right. Sometimes, yeah, we certainly feel that way, right? But I
Yeah,
do think it is a journey, and again, many companies, like I think hospitality is a great example. I think they've in many ways been somewhat slow to adopt technology. And sometimes they're living a little bit behind the curve, and
yep,
it's definitely the opportunities that lie ahead of these organizations that realize what technology can do to them is just um, it's just really eye-opening, and it's amazing that the transformation to their revenue, to their bottom line,
yes.
just by adopting the right technologies.
That's it. And we did this years ago. We did this back in the 40s and 50s with mainframes, and then 70s, 80s getting into distributed computing. Different technologies means what you mentioned there as well was it's a journey. But I always like to think of it as a technological journey and a people journey at the same time. Almost like the people pushing the technology onto the train, closing the doors and going with it to the next station and doing something with it along the way. There's a big focus on cybersecurity, quite rightly so. But I mean, a question for you, is the need for cybersecurity kind of overhyped these days or as necessary? Sure, once we go to the cloud, security is baked in and we don't need to think about it anymore. Would you have any?
Oh, I wish that were the case. Don't we all?
Don't we all?
Making
Yeah.
somebody else's problem. No, the reality is that cybersecurity is more important than ever. I mean, just
Yeah.
hands down, more important than ever. And you've really got to be thinking carefully about, how you're implementing. You got to be really looking at what you need to do in terms of controls, and uh, just it takes a lot more upfront planning than I think it did years ago. Um,
Yes.
yeah, the cloud providers are providing a service, and they provide PCI compliant services. But just because the individual components are PCI compliant, for instance, doesn't mean that
Yes.
the overall solution you build is PCI compliant.
Love it.
So you got to
Yes.
really use your head here and think through what you're doing, how you're putting the components together, and ensuring that you're thinking carefully about the end result. And the reality is we're seeing this repeat over and over again. These vulnerabilities, these threat actors that are out there. I mean, they're becoming more sophisticated. Cybersecurity, hands down, is more critical than it's ever been.
Love it. And I think some of these, I said, threat actors are probably using some of this latest technology themselves in order to be able to
Yeah,
do
true.
better cyber attacks at the end of the
Right.
day. Yeah, you hit it there. The PCI compliancy is one I've come across quite a lot where a cloud provider will say we're PCI compliant. They are at the data center for a small part of the entire service that's being given. And I always think that you cannot you should not and you cannot outsource responsibility and
That's right.
accountability for security. The buck
That's right.
stops with your organization and your people and those leaders in charge. That's where it should. You can attempt to outsource it, but you cannot really give away that at the end of the day. The buck stops with your organization.
Yeah,
Um,
let me just state real quick too. You know, I worked for Microsoft for nearly 2 years, and
sure,
you
yeah,
know, I've been working with Microsoft technology for some time, and you know, um, if you look at, for instance, you look at the Azure components, there are a number of components there that are PCI compliant,
yes,
and so they'll say, you know, hey, on PC, you know, we've got a PCI compliant solution to offer you. The reality is, you got to look at every component individually. You got to look and make sure, is this component really PCI compliant? And if I take these two PCI components and put them together in
yes.
terms of building a solution, is the end result, the sum of those two components, going to be
That's
PCI,
it.
right?
Is your solution PCI because you've built it, you've used these components. So I love it. Is the sum of these components, as you said, compliant from a security perspective? And you have to look at that holistically from what you've built with these parts. Love it. That we still see case studies, we still see references of organizations and CIOs and IT leaders and CEOs trying to outsource that security problem. It's not a problem, invest in it. It's something to be invested in, because if you don't, it will be a problem. And there's lots of case studies out there at the moment that people can go find. Simple question for you, Ken. I love this one. Moving IT budgets from CapEx to OPEX is a good thing. Yes? No?
Yeah, so it's a good
Maybe?
thing. I mean it's kind of a foregone conclusion at this point, right? So but I do think, you know, it's a lot of you really have to educate your teams internally, right? You know, the
Mhm.
finance
Yes,
teams.
yes,
We went through this years ago with our teams and helping them understand the impact and you know
yes.
the value of doing what we're doing. So, you know, again, I think it's a good thing. I think it's a foregone conclusion that it's happening. We're not going to stop that train. And it's just a matter of it's up to us to really educate our internal teams as to the value of it and how to do it.
That's one of the biggest challenges we've seen is educating outside of IT, as you said, finance, procurement, even legal from contracts perspective. The only thing I'd consider in that though is once you go into an OPEX now again depends on the size of the organization, can relate a bit more to cash flow. So you
Mhm,
need to be very cash flow positive to pay the OPEX bill, I would
mhm,
suggest. And the other thing might be the cost of getting capital. Sometimes a CapEx model might be cheaper,
mhm.
but again, can you buy a lot of this equipment with CapEx? Well, you're not. You're really leasing it or renting it for periods of time. So it's one to consider. Biggest thing though we've seen the challenge is the internal challenge in getting people's minds switched around as
Mhm.
to we're moving to a different model. Is it the right model? What are the considerations?
And I think really, Mark, I think it's really about, you know, that's one aspect of evangelizing internally, right? I think, you know, we are, you know, we're really good. A lot of us are really good at technology. We're really
Yes.
good at digging in and understanding complex problems
Yeah.
and trying to build new solutions. But the reality of the situation is that we really need to be good evangelists internally. This is you know, moving to the cloud and digital transformation is a real mind shift change. And
Yes.
going back to the whole people argument, we really need to do our best to convince people of the value of that. I went through I went through this a couple of years ago when I came back to the Amadeus organization and was focused on, you know, sunsetting products, right? And you know, again, it was not something we'd ever really done before. Like, we're just going to keep running these products in
Yeah.
perpetuity, and
Yeah.
everyone's
Yeah.
going to be happy and there's not going to be any problems. But the reality is we had to sunset products, and so it was a huge evangelistic effort across the
Yes.
organization. Painful, painful, but you know, the outcome has been tremendously good for the organization in terms of the revenue that we've been able
Yes.
to
Yes.
reap from transitioning customers, as well as just focusing our attention more on innovation, focusing it on our cloud-based products, and really helping our customers transform their business.
Yeah, very good point. As you said, I think IT does have to be the evangelist of this technological change, but not just from the technology side. We have to know that, but we also have to know the impact of business people and the benefits and some of the pitfalls. As you said, even we have to sunset some of the older stuff to enable us to do newer things and better things and getting through that. So as an evangelist, we're going to feel pain, as you said,
Right.
but we have to believe, and we have to drive that thinking. We have to have passion. We have to believe in the story, know the message, know the journey we're going on, understand the destination. It's the journey is important. There's a destination there, the destination we probably never reach. But I think we need to fold all that into our thinking. And I think there is a changing time at the moment where personally, I'm seeing a change in people within IT, whether they're coming into IT today or they've been in IT for 20, 30, 40 years, that those that will survive now in this world of change are the ones that will start thinking like that and behaving like that, which is good to see, and people are doing that. Um, Two final ones. DevOps is a great replacement for IT service management. That's come up before, so I wanted to pick your brains on that. Or is it a replacement? So, some people believe it
Uh,
is.
I don't think so. I don't
Mm,
think so. I
yeah,
think they augment each other very well,
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
for sure, but DevOps is not a replacement. I think DevOps is, I'm a big proponent of DevOps, the
yes,
methodology, right?
yes,
And we got to be careful how we use the term too. A lot of people throw DevOps around and it means different things to different people, but if you really look at what it is, it's a methodology. And
yes.
so, I think it works very well in tandem with IT service management, frankly.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. To me, they're components that we knit together. As you said, greater than the sum of the parts is what we're aiming for. I think DevOps has brought some new thinking in, especially with all this digital technology that is so agile. So I'm using the words again, all these buzzwords, but it's so flexible and scalable that you have to have a more open way of doing things quicker, faster, getting that velocity, which is great. But and we've seen case studies of DevOps replacing the service management function, which I don't think is the way to go, because you still need the operations side, that customer service. You need to transcend it from product into service, because without service, all you have is products. And if you don't have
That's
any
right.
way of differentiation, you have a commodity.
That's
So I
right.
think the challenge, maybe you have a comment on this, the challenge I've seen in a lot of industries that I've spoken with personally is DevOps has become a silo the same way service management became a silo. And it's the pulling the two of them together is the challenge. We know what DevOps is, we know what service management is. People have been doing them long enough now. It's getting them together
That's
seems to
right.
be the
Well,
challenge.
and I think what happens is, and this is I think pretty common, is that we hone in on the sexy. So DevOps can take
Yeah,
us to whole new levels, and we forget about the IT service management part of it. We
yeah,
forget
yeah.
about the elements there that help us be successful in other areas of the business, right? So,
Yeah,
just a firm believer, and let's be really careful about overhyping certain buzz terms and certain methodologies that are appealing to us, and making
yeah.
sure we're looking at the whole picture.
Love it, the whole picture there. Final question in this little quick fire. Agile is better than waterfall project management, similar to the DevOps ITSM. Yes, no, maybe.
I'm gonna be shot with this, but I definitely think there's a place for both, and
Yeah,
I'm safe certified. I've gone through the training. I believe in it. I'm a big proponent of it, but I certainly see value in certain areas for waterfall, right? And for instance, we my team has been focused heavily on kind of revolutionizing how we migrate customers from our legacy products to our newer products, right?
yes,
And we've realized that the way that we need to deliver, it fits better in a waterfall model. It just fits
yeah,
better. So we've taken that approach. Now again, our organization, our R&D organization, and many other parts of organization have really tried to adopt, you know, scaled agile, and they've done so very successfully. But it doesn't work in every case. So I
Yeah.
just really challenge you to take a close look at what your outcomes need to be and figure out what methodology works the best for you.
Love it. The thinking, think of the outcomes, then think of the methodology, think of
That's
the
right.
end results and work backwards. I'm a big proponent of working backwards. I see that as well. Again, we see so many people, they're breaking their organizations to get so agile in everything. And it's, whoa, does that suit the situation you're in? But we never ask that question. Of course it will. And
Right.
then you step back, and if it's this onboarding, you go, "Whoa, no, it doesn't." So yeah,
Right.
it's same with them. It's about making it relevant and having, I think, having all these components that you call on as and when you need. Ken, we're coming to the end. Final thing. Any final words maybe on how digital technologies and services, maybe above and beyond what we've said, are just changing, your industry in general terms? Or,
Yeah, I think it's huge in the hospitality space. I think it's an untapped opportunity that, is coming our way really. You know, if you really take a look at how air travel is transformed over the last 10 to 20 years,
yeah,
you
yeah,
think about what you were doing even 20, even 10 years ago, with respect to how you bought tickets and how you utilized those tickets and how you checked in and even
hmm,
how you bought seats. It's completely changed, and in many ways for the better. It's been fantastic customer service experience for many individuals, but it's also given the airlines awesome new revenue opportunities. Well, you
yeah,
just think about, not only the way that they sell, sections or sell seats, but
hmm,
also, well, really differentiating those seats based on location on the plane, how much legroom they have, um, and also just having the ability to select a seat when you buy your ticket, right? It seems pretty basic, but
yeah,
they're
it's huge.
using those opportunities to drive new revenue into their business, which is fantastic. So the hospitality business is is at the infancy stage here,
Mm,
but there's tremendous opportunity and tremendous upside with respect to transforming digitally, leveraging the cloud, leveraging solution providers such as us. I know there's others out there too, but such
yeah.
as us that really are trying to integrate a lot of these products and enable them to do many of the same types of things that the airline industry has been doing for a decade.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's key integration there as well, and the opportunity is phenomenal. And I think maybe in the IT world that we exist in as well is if we can get more into knowing the technologies and from a business perspective, trying to help the business understand how we might be able to solve uh, customer challenges today or solve challenges that have yet to come up, which is the true opportunity going forward. That's great. Okay, Ken. Ken Wilson from Amadeus IT Group. Thank you very much for joining us on today's CCC Talks.
Mark, thank you so much for having me. Really enjoyed the opportunity, and we'll talk soon.
We'll talk soon, Ken. Thank you very much.